Assalamu alaikum. 6 p.m. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Sumaira Kamal. First, the headlines. Government has invested 1,415 billion rupees in energy sector during last 5 years, adding 7,653 megawatt of electricity to national grid. An agreement has been signed between Pakistan and Korea for employment of Pakistani workers in South Korea for another 2 years. The United States says the continued violence against the line of control poses a risk to stability in the region. In occupied Kashmir, all parties Hurriyat Conference staged a protest in Srinagar against the killing of civilians in Indian Army's firing on a private car. China has set a target of 10 million more people to be taken out of poverty in 2018. In Pakistan Super League, Multan Sultans will take on Quetta Gladiators in Dubai tonight. And now the news in detail. Economic Council has been informed that 1,415 billion rupees were invested in the energy sector during the last 5 years, leading to addition of 7,653 megawatt of electricity to the national grid. The meeting of the council was held in Islamabad today, chaired by Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi. It was informed that 3,163 megawatt new capacity will be added by June this year. Highest level of indigenous oil production at 100,698 barrels per day was witnessed as compared to 76,000 barrels in 2012-13. Discussing economic gains made during the 11th plan, it was informed that the average annual growth rate of GDP, which stood at 3% in 2012-13, increased to around 5% with decades highest growth rate of 5.3% in 2016-17. Executive Committee of the National Economic Council has approved 8 development projects worth over 80 billion rupees. The approval was given at a meeting held in Islamabad today with Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi in the chair. It approved a project for upgradation and extension of NTDC's telecommunication and SCADA system at a cost of 11.638 billion rupees. A 200-bed Centre of Excellence for Obstetrics and Gynecology will be established in Rawalpindi at a cost of over 5.3 billion rupees. Southern Punjab Poverty Alleviation Project approved by the meeting will cost about 7.566 billion rupees. The project aims at increasing the household income, employment opportunities, vocational and enterprise training with focus on women, provision of low-cost housing and community infrastructure development for the people of Southern Punjab. The ECNEC approved construction of a northern bypass of Dera Ghazi Khan at a cost of 4.874 billion rupees and improvement and widening of 153 km Chitral Bhumi Mastuj Shandur Road at a cost of over 16.755 billion rupees. The Senate today passed 2 bills. These are the Corporate Rehabilitation Bill 2018 moved by Minister for Parliamentary Affairs Sheikh Aftab Ahmed and the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill 2017 moved by Kareem Ahmed Khwaja and others. The first bill is aimed at rehabilitation and reorganization of the distressed corporate entities, while the second one provides for protection, relief, and rehabilitation of the rights of the transgender persons and their welfare for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto. Responding to a calling attention notice, Minister for States and Frontier Regions Abdul Qadir Baloch said petroleum prices in Pakistan are still the lowest in South Asia. He rejected the impression that petroleum prices are decreasing in the international market while the same are being increased in Pakistan. He said that increase or decrease in the petroleum prices in the international market are passed on the general public. The minister said petroleum prices are revised on monthly basis in the light of commodity prices in the global market. Agreement has been signed between Korea and Pakistan for employment of Pakistani workers in South Korea for another 2 years, that is 2018-19. In a ceremony held at the Ministry of Overseas Pakistanis and Human Resource Development in Islamabad today, the Ministry for Overseas Pakistanis Peer Syed Sadruddin Shah Rashidi signed an MOU with South Korea for employment of Pakistani workers in Korea through Overseas Employment Corporation. The federal minister welcomed the Korean side for giving an opportunity to send the Pakistani workers to South Korea through a transparent and efficient mechanism. The ambassador in his address appreciated the cooperation between the Ministry of Overseas Pakistanis and Ministry of Employment and Labour Korea for employment of skilled and dedicated labour from Pakistan. This is Radio Pakistan. The United States says continued violence along the line of control poses a risk to stability in the region in the wake of tension between Pakistan and India. This was stated by the head of U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency and Director of National Intelligence in their assessments of the worldwide threats before Senate's Armed Services Committee in Washington. U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency Director Lieutenant General Robert Ashley said the exchange of heavy fire between the Indian and Pakistani forces along the line of control poses risk of gradual escalation of hostilities. Italian Navy Chief Walter Giraldi visited naval headquarters in Islamabad today, where he was welcomed by Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Zafar Mahmood Abbasi. The visiting naval chief was presented Guard of Honor by a smartly turned out contingent of Pakistani Navy on his arrival at the headquarters. Both chiefs discussed professional matters and bilateral naval cooperation. Walter Giraldi commended role and services of Pakistan Navy for establishing peace and stability in the seas. The Italian chief also laid a wreath of flowers at Yadgar-e-Shohada at the headquarters. DGISPR Major General Asif Ghafoor says the nation prepares to celebrate 78th Pakistan Day on 23rd of this month. In a tweet, he said Pakistan is synonymous to peace and we shall safeguard it at any cost. In occupied Kashmir, All Parties Hurriyat Conference staged a protest at Haidarpura in Srinagar today against the killing of civilians in Indian Army's firing on a private car in Shopian district. The protesters regretted the silence of the United Nations and international community over the civilian killings in the occupied territory. Carrying banners and placards reading "Stop Civilian Killings, Stop Genocide and Civilian Killings, Unacceptable," they raised anti-India and pro-freedom slogans. China has set a target of taking 10 million more people out of poverty this year. The top official of Poverty Alleviation and Development Department, Liu Yongfu, told newsmen in Beijing today that China has achieved the best results against poverty. Radio Pakistan's special correspondent reports from Beijing that, according to government figures, by the end of 2012, the country had 99 million people living in poverty, and the number was reduced to more than 30 million at the end of 2017. China has more than 68 million people taken out of poverty over the last 5 years. The United Nations Human Rights Chief Zaid Radul Hussain says the protests of bulldozing of mass graves in Myanmar Rakhine state show a deliberate attempt by the authorities to destroy evidence of possible crimes against humanity. In a speech to UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, he said acts of genocide may have taken place against Rohingya Muslims in the Rakhine state. In Sri Lanka, authorities have shut down social media to control violence against a Muslim minority. The government said some of the violence has been instigated over social media, with postings appearing on Facebook threatening more attacks against the minority. It said Facebook, Viber and WhatsApp would be blocked across the country for 3 days. Police has clamped on an indefinite curfew in the Central Highlands district of Kandy, where the violence has been centered. President Maithripala Sirisena has also imposed emergency for 7 days to control the violence. In Pakistan Super League, Multan Sultans will take on Quetta Gladiators in Dubai tonight. And finally, the weather. Mainly dry weather is expected in most plain areas and cold in northern parts of the country during the next 12 hours. However, light rain thunderstorm is likely at few places in Job Division and Fata. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analyses, log on to our website radio.gov.pk, and to watch video bulletins of our live bulletins, log on to the address facebook.com/radio.